So Professor Malhotra is professor at Jawaharlal Nehru University. He has done so much in research and policy and contributed in different committees that probably a larger introduction would eat up all the time that otherwise I have requested him to contribute into us. So Professor Malhotra, if I could request you for your comments and observations and how, especially how to take it forward from the policy point of view, because you have headed many policy divisions earlier and now with Government of India. So you need to unmute yourself, yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Rahul Singh. It's been a privilege listening to Harsh and Ajit, and sorry I missed Alak. Can you give me a sense of how many minutes you want me to speak? Because I'll then structure my remarks accordingly.
Okay, so about 12-13 minutes, so that
that's fine.
Time
okay.
left. Yeah.
Okay, so so I'm going to sort of structure my remarks into sort of 4 broad areas. Let me begin with how we got here as far as the pandemic is concerned and the migrant crisis. Because the migrant crisis is only going to grow in UP and Bihar, and I'll come back to that. Second, I'll speak about the economic crisis prevailing in the economy prior to COVID, and then the impact of what we are calling a stimulus, and how much benefit we are going to get to see. Then I will turn to what to do, and specifically in the context of UP and Bihar. So let me begin by saying that on the day that the lockdown was imposed after the pandemic broke, there were 692 cases in the country. We now have 1,000 times more cases. Clearly, we may not have done the right thing by imposing a lockdown at 4 hours notice. South Africa was also imposing a lockdown around the same time. They gave 4 days notice. There was precious little planning. And I think we are still paying the price of that in terms of both the pandemic as well as the impact on the economy. Let me explain what I mean. Our lockdown came way too early. And of course, we have, unlike Europe, which began to unlock after they had not only peaked, but their number of new cases were falling, we are nowhere close to our peak. If anything, the way we, in an unplanned manner, carried out a lockdown, we locked the very people who unfortunately are now spreading the disease across the country. I hate to be using this term, but they're not at fault. They were locked down, they contracted the disease, and they were locked down in hovels, in cities. And they couldn't move for the last week of March or April or May. They were, so obviously they still moved. And the Shramik trains began only on the 1st of June. So what we've done is that we allowed them to contract the disease, and then we sent them home. So we've enabled the pandemic to grow. You won't believe this one, but about a month ago, I participated in a Bihar UP seminar, and on that day, the number of cases in Bihar was 3,872, barely, of which 3/4 then. This is at the beginning, on the 7th of June. 3/4 of those cases were migrant cases, were cases of migrants. In other words, there is clear evidence in respect of the lockdown having caused this crisis, the pandemic becoming worse. And abhi to aage dekhiye hota hai kya. We ain't seen nothing yet as far as the pandemic is concerned, particularly in UP and Bihar, because UP already has yesterday, I think, become the fifth biggest state in terms of pandemic cases, and the numbers are growing every day. And it is tragic that it is in these 2 states that it is growing so rapidly, because these are the 2 states which have the worst health infrastructure, a subject that I will come back to in a minute. Having said enough about the pandemic, although briefly, let me say how the government reacted 2 months too late with an economic stimulus of 10% of GDP. We all know, it's fairly well known, most of us are economists on this group, 9% of GDP was in the form of bank guarantees of greater liquidity. Only 1% of GDP was in the form of a fiscal stimulus. Now consider the following. I was part of government in the Planning Commission when the global economic crisis hit 12 years ago. And at that time, not only was there a monetary policy package, there was a fiscal policy package to revive the economy of 3 to 4% of GDP. Then when the impact on the economy was not even half of what we've experienced on account of the pandemic. Then the size of the fiscal stimulus relative to GDP was 3 to 4 times as high as now. Speaks volumes for the lack of understanding of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics 101 would have taught our decision makers to actually put in place a far bigger fiscal stimulus. The results of that are going to be felt over the years. We might be congratulating ourselves that the unemployment rate, which was at a historic high, at a 45-year historic high in 2018-19, of youth unemployment rates, which had shot up between 2012 and 2018 from 6% to 18%. And if you are a graduate, then it had gone from 18% to 36% between 2012 and 2018. This was pre-COVID. The unemployment rate trebled again in April, but it has gone down. But it is only halved. The level is much higher still than the 2018-19 numbers. And this is not going away, because all that has happened is that in rural areas, people are working in Manrega, A, and B, they are cutting the previous crop and they are sowing the new crop. So this is temporary increase in rural employment, which you are seeing, which is a cause of the reason for the decline in rural unemployment, Manrega and these two factors. I'll come back to this subject a little later. In urban areas, what has happened? A decline in unemployment merely because the thela wala has come back on the street. The nai, the kabadi wala, the darzi, the phal wala, the sabzi wala, they have all come back onto the street again because the lockdown has been ended. So the unemployment rate. But at the same time, organized sector is losing jobs. All the sectors that we know, I don't have the time to go into that. You all know that. So all the prognostications are that not before fiscal year 23 is the economy, the level of the GDP going to go back to the 1920 level. Forget about growth. Forget about new job growth. So this is the situation that we are in. Let me turn very quickly to what needs to be done. Clearly, there has to be a bigger fiscal stimulus package. There's just no getting away from that. If you don't do it now, it's contracting this year, GDP is contracting this year, it will contract next year as well. If you do it now, you might be able to stem the fall, you might be able to help to revive the economy today. What is the stimulus here? What are the most immediate actions that are needed in a stimulus? One, we will have to think about increasing funding and the number of person days per work for Manrega. It will, and Bihar, by the way, and let me turn very quickly now to Bihar and UP. Bihar and UP are not states which have done very well in Manrega. Historically is what I'm saying. Let me give you some numbers. In 1617, they provided 37% days, when in the country, about 50% days. On average, in the country, the percentage per household has never exceeded 50, when you could go up to 100. In 1718, it was 36% days. In 1819, it was 42% days. In 1920, it was 42% days. But the demand for Manrega in UP, Bihar, everywhere across the country has shot up. And yet what we find, interestingly, what we find is the following, that across the country, 80 million people were looking for work in June for Manrega. Only 62 million were given it. So already 18 million were sent back home looking for Manrega work. The result of the reverse migration that has happened is that real wages are going to fall, which is the opposite of what was happening between 2004 and 2012, when non-agri job growth was really rapid. Non-agri job growth had slowed down between 2012 and 2018 in any case. And now we have a situation where this reverse migration has taken the economy back 15 years. What do I mean by that? For 50 years after independence, the absolute number of workers in agriculture was growing, although the share of agriculture in total workforce was falling, but the absolute number of workers in agriculture was still rising. But for the last 15 years, the absolute number of workers in agriculture was falling because non-agri job growth was happening. It had slowed post 2012 under this regime in the last 6 years, but it was still happening. Now we've seen an increase in agriculture, millions more, when they don't have anything to do. So the real wages are going to fall, poverty is going to increase. There's just no question about it. So you will have to increase your allocations for Manrega, you will have to borrow, there is no getting away from it. Secondly, we need to have an urban Manrega. Why? Because actually it will be substitutive of rural Manrega. It will draw workers back. You know, factories, if you want to open, they quite often are not being able to open because they don't have enough workers. Their workers have gone home. They are not coming back. Thank you very much. They don't want to come back and live in hovels again and contract the disease, in which don't you think they know that that it's not peaked and it's going to go on increasing in the Delhis, the Kanpur, the Lucknow, and is UP and Bihar, are they capable of generating the jobs that their governments are claiming? Zero chance. Zero chance. These are the two states of the country where the share of agriculture in total employment is much higher. In Bihar, it is 56%. It is roughly the same in UP of the total workforce. In the country, it is 44%. And so, and the plot size is so small in both these states that the prospect of more workers being absorbed is actually zilch. So they must leave the rural areas of Bihar. And that was the one hope that they had, because they were the two states which provided 3.5 million of the 5 million who were leaving agriculture between 2004 and 12. We've now seen a reverse migration happening. So urban Manrega will be substitutive from a government point of view. It means it will bring workers back. You'll have to spend less on rural Manrega. Use the urban Manrega money to create low-cost urban housing on government land, point 2. Point 3, UP and Bihar have the worst health infrastructure. They must spend more on health. No getting away from that. Spend your newly educated girls, and by the way, girls have gotten better educated increasingly. Send them to Kerala to get training. Kerala has fantastic training institutions for nursing, for paramedics, and so on. You know, I mean, Bihar, child malnutrition rates were 48%, for 44% for underweight. In the country, it was 35. Bihar stunting rate was 48% in 2015-16. The incidence of wasting was 21%, much higher than in the rest of the country. The proportion of children fully immunized way below, and your total fertility rate, the worst in the country in Bihar. Even UP has bettered Bihar. What is the TFR in Bihar? 3.6. Every state of the country is below 3. Even UP is at 2.7. If you don't have a functional health system providing modern means of contraception at the lowest level, you will not provide better reproductive health services. In the absence of that, you are not going to improve the TFR. So let me close finally by saying something about agriculture, which Ajit mentioned, which I think let me say about food processing. Yes, Ajit is absolutely right. Yes, Ramesh Chand is absolutely right, but that's not agriculture. It's agriculture related. It can be rural areas, it can be urban areas. In that sense, I agree with Harsh. But I would here, and I would close here, emphasize that what Bihar UP need to do is, if they want to provide non-farm employment close to towns, close to villages, they need, in the clusters that exist in the Firozabad, the Muradabad, the Aligarh, you know what I'm talking about, the Madhubani, much greater investment into cluster development, and provide the skilling, Harsh, provide the skilling near the clusters. So improve the infrastructure in the cluster where the manufacturing is, where the jobs are, and you skill them, they will get jobs right there and then. They don't want to go back to Bangalore, to Chennai, to Delhi, to Mumbai. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. I think it was very clear, 3-4 distinctive approaches that you have given. And I would immediately connect with the industry. You know, the local clusters you have talked about, I think cluster approach has really been successful in this country, creating employment, also creating expertise, the skill set. So thank you very much.